Hey guys, so I just want to talk a little bit about a conversation I was having with Alex of the Puff Stuff blog about how Jigglypuff beats the characters that beat her. And so I think he and I either have fundamentally different understandings of how a character wins a losing matchup, or we are just disagreeing on a syntax level. But I think it's more than likely probably a combination of the two. So I'm just going to explain my thoughts on this, and we'll get whatever response is valid from Alex afterwards. So I said that essentially Jigglypuff kind of needs Gimmicks to win against Fox in respect, because if Jigglypuff just plays optimally, she can't beat Fox. Like, she honestly can't beat Sheik or Marth either, or Falco or whatever, if she just plays optimally. There's not like a set option that Jigglypuff can just take in every single situation. And not saying it's have to be the same one, but there's not like a answer that Jigglypuff has to every situation that she can just use safely to ensure that Jigglypuff will win the game. That's just not how Jigglypuff works, because she loses those matchups. So, for example, let's say people come up to me all the time and ask for advice in matchups, and they'll say like, "How do I beat Sheik?" Because Sheik is a tough matchup for Puff if the Sheik is actually good and not getting rested a billion times. So you're not going to beat Sheik's back air. Like, Jigglypuff just actually doesn't technically do that. But the way you beat Sheik's back air is you wait for her to back air, and you don't get hit by it, and you go in and hit her. So you're inherently the character doesn't win that trade, right? Like, if they space their back correctly, you get hit by it, and that's not good. But Jigglypuff definitely has ways that she can get around it, and that's why a lot of people think that matchup is even, or slightly in Puff's favor. I personally think it's slightly in Sheik's favor, but that's not really relevant to the conversation. It's just that Sheik has a move that Jigglypuff cannot deal with on an ideal level. So saying that these characters don't have, or Jigglypuff doesn't have a way to deal with these characters is a little bit of an oversimplification, because as Alex said, you win with using your footsies, and you outsmart your opponent, and that's how you beat the Foxes and the Falcos and the Sheiks and the Marths. But I consider that to be a gimmick, and so he says that using Roll Out is always a gimmick on Jigglypuff. That Roll Out is Jigglypuff's neutral B. It is not a particularly good move, but Hungrybox has been using it recently to some success, and it's actually been looking pretty good. And it actually, the acceleration turning back and forth on the Pokemon Stadium grass transformation is a lot faster than the acceleration normally is of turning around, and it's definitely a somewhat viable option for Jigglypuff to use, just because it's difficult to answer, and it fills a role that Jigglypuff isn't really able to fill, because Jigglypuff is so slow. She's not able to cover the entire length of Pokemon Stadium very quickly at all. But if she's in the the rollout animation, she's able to do it very quickly. Obviously, as Alex points out, it's actually fairly easy to react to that and just grab it. And Fox can, I think every character can do that, honestly. And you can just get it every single time. It's super duper easy. So you could just say, because there's an answer to it, it's a gimmick. But all of those characters, almost every top tier, has an answer to all Jigglypuff stuff that beats all Jigglypuff stuff, no matter what, no matter how good the Jigglypuff player is, assuming that player is using their moves correctly. And so that's just, the harsh reality of playing Jigglypuff is you're not going to be able to just say, like, well, you can't use Rollout because it's bad. They get a free punish every single time. You can't ever sing, you can't ever, because then you just can't ever even play. I mean, you can't back air against Fox. That's not safe. You back air on his shield, he'll wave dash out a shield and grab you if you land on the ground. The best case scenario is you escape to a platform where he starts jumping and lasering you. It's not a good matchup. You can't just play the game as though your matchups are good, and when you're not playing the best character anyway. Anyways, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about, and that's the definition of legit or optimal or correct. And that's, people refer to the way characters are supposed to play as optimal a lot of the time, but what you have to understand is that everybody's got different definitions of the word optimal, and most people don't actually mean optimal, because optimal would be Bowser starting the match and running to the ledge and doing the perfect ledge stall, or Fox and Falco shooting a laser at their opponent and then just running the ledge and ledge stalling perfectly over and over again. And that's not what people are talking about when they say optimal. They're trying, they don't mean with super perfect hands in a perfect robot world where only robots are playing melee. They mean the optimal move in a situation given what we have. And so I think it's like the level just below that. So anything that isn't quite just hitting your opponent and then doing an invincible ledge stall forever is what people are talking about when they say optimal. And so with Jigglypuff, she does have matchups where she can play that optimally, and she also definitely has, even against, like Fox and Falco and Marth and Sheik, there's stuff that it's correct to do and there's stuff that it's not correct to do in certain situations. Like, you definitely have lots of answers to their moves and their ability, or their attacks, and their movement in general. But if it's just not quite stumbling on that word there. It's just not exactly how I would, or it's not my definition of optimal. That's not how I would define optimal, by saying to beat Fox you have to get grabs. That's the optimal thing to do, is you just grab him, and then you do the punish from there, because Jigglypuff's got great punishes off for grabs. It's not optimal because you're not going to win. If you just go for grabs, you're just going to get, nared a bunch, or fucking up smashed, or grabbed, or whatever. Fox can do whatever to you if all you're going to try and do is grab. It's not the optimal move for a situation. It's just what you have to try and do to win that matchup. And so I think Alex would probably agree with me on my definition of optimal. And we'll see as the conversation goes further. And I'll probably do more of these videos to clarify my thoughts about Jigglypuff, hopefully with more notes that I took beforehand, so I don't quite stumble on a bunch of dumb words. But thanks for listening to this dumb video, and so I'll see y'all later.